guys, and welcome to this week's video. This week we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you my little trip to Ikea. Well, actually no, there is a sole purpose to this video, so before you click away, don't. I actually went to Ikea to get some tidying or like storage for my art desk. I don't have a lot of room in my art corner and I wanted to spruce it up so I can hopefully in the next few months do a art station tour, and there's quite a bit I still need to do with it, but I'm going to insert some pictures of what I've currently done, and I'm really happy with the way the workspace looks so far. I just really want to tidy up and straighten up before I do the whole tour thing and really spruce up this desk and make it something that I feel really creative to sit down at and draw at. I haven't been feeling very creative or have that spark lately, and I think a part of it can be your workspace, and if you're not feeling inspired at your workspace, sometimes you're not feeling inspired to draw, and that can happen. So we went to Ikea to go and get some bits and bobs, some bits that we really needed for the flat, because we live in a tiny 1-bedroom flat and we don't have a lot of storage, so we were thinking, okay, how can we do this, blah blah blah, and we went to Ikea to go and get a few ideas. While we were at Ikea, we had a bit of fun, ate some Ikea meatballs, because I think that's 90% the reason why we were going in the first place. And while we were there, there's art supplies at Ikea. I was looking through and I was like, what is all this? There was in the kids corner, when you turn, I think, depending on what Ikea you go to, near the kids corner there is a really nice big art supply section. They have easels, they have like big tearaway paper, they have pens, they have paint, they have pencils, they have all sorts of stuff. And while I was sat there, I was like, I really want to try this out. Even if the art supplies aren't going to be great, I want to try them. I want to see how they are. So I picked up a few things. I picked up a adorable paint palette which had the paints on top, and underneath it had these 2 cups and 2 paintbrushes in. I thought this was really cute, a really nice set. I also picked up some coloured pens because I thought, oh, some felt markers, that would be really nice. I didn't pick up any pencils, but I did pick up some fine liner types. They weren't really fine liners, they were like just black markers. And then I picked up a notebook from the stationery section as well as some washi tape. I didn't spend a massive amount of money. I think in total it came to about £15, which can be quite a lot for art supplies, but you know me, I like trying budget supplies and seeing whether or not they are going to be worth it, so to speak. I am a firm believer that you don't need the most money in the entire world to do art. I think you can simply do art with printer paper and a biro or a pencil, and you can just, if you're feeling creative, just work with it. Now these art supplies aren't going to get wasted. I'm keeping the sketchbook because I think it's going to be great for doing thumbnailing in, and it'll be great for doing like quick doodles or quick ideas and concepts, because sometimes I get really stressed about doing stuff in my neatest sketchbook. So a rough sketchbook, sometimes you don't need the most expensive paper. As for the other supplies, they're actually going to go to one of my work colleagues' daughters. She's really into art at the moment, and she's really into painting and drawing, and she's like was showing me all her drawings, and I was like, she's just so cute, she's just so adorable, and I was just like, these would be perfect to gift to her so that she can use them and be creative and have fun. So not all is lost. So going into these art supplies, now I'm gonna say this with the biggest pinch of salt, these art supplies aren't great, and I'm gonna be honest, they are not worth it. If you have followed this channel for a while, or if you're new to this channel, I have done plenty of budget or cheap art supply challenges where I will take really cheap supplies and I'll work it. I've even done an art challenge where I only had £5 and we had to buy art supplies and go from there. Now my favourite places to go to for cheap art supplies are the Works, Hobbycraft, and of course the pound shops. This is like dollar stores or wherever you're from, like cheap art supplies. Because yet again, I'm a firm believer, you don't need the most expensive art supplies to do your work. However, doesn't necessarily mean that cheap supplies are going to be good. The main problems I had was this notebook that I picked up. I didn't pick up the paper from the art corner because it only had like big thick slabs of paper, which when I felt like it didn't feel great to work on. And the other paper that I had was this gigantic roll of paper, which I was like, I don't have room for that. And two, I'm not spending an excessive amount of money on paper that I will use pretty much once and then never use again. So I picked up a sketchbook and, well, a notebook. And the notebook, it does feel like it's very cheap printer paper. But, you know, it held pretty well. My only issue was if you are going to layer any markers on it, it would just bleed through like crazy. So if you are going to use cheaper paper, if you are going to use it with your markers and stuff, my highest suggestion is always slip another piece of paper under the page that you are working on so it doesn't bleed through onto the other side of the paper, because then it can bleed through quite a few and you can end up, you're not ruining a sketchbook, but you know, getting through quite a few pages, and that can make you feel a little bit down about stuff like that. So if you want to protect some of your pages, always put another piece of paper underneath. I learned very quickly that even though all these art supplies weren't going to be massively pigmented, this paper bled like crazy, which is absolutely fine. Lesson learned. The markers were okay, they weren't massively pigmented, and if I'm honest, they weren't too expensive. I believe they were about £3 for the full set, which isn't bad, but go for something else because these weren't the greatest. They were fantastic to use if you wanted to do like simple layers, if you just wanted to do one layer, but the second you put another layer on top, the paper would pill, and I don't think that is just going to be that paper, because even if you're using cartridge paper it would do the same thing. It's the problem that you can get with water-based markers is you can't layer them, and if you are using water-based markers, one of the brands I have tried in the past, which is quite nice to use, is Crayola, and you can get a really big set of Crayola markers and they can last you quite a while. But the barrels didn't feel great, and sometimes when I would hold them it felt like everything was rattling inside it. And yet again, this is cheap art supplies, it's not going to be the greatest art supplies you are ever going to use out there, but it just, it didn't feel nice to use, if that makes any sense for me. I don't know, maybe that's just me, I don't know. The fine liners were the same, they weren't very pigmented. Well, fine liners, that's what we're going to put in air quotation marks. Fine liners, they were okay to use, but yet again, if you put like one line down and then you wanted to put like, I don't know, like try to build up that layer, it was doing that weird layering thing, and the black markers were actually drying grey, which can be kind of frustrating. But in all honesty, the worst out of all these materials was the watercolours. The paintbrushes were beautiful to use, really soft, really nice, but the actual paints themselves, they're quite chalky paints, which I am no stranger to chalky paints. I have a Artist's Loft, or the Hobbycraft's own brand, which I have used for years. When I first started this channel to practice watercolours in my Ryman sketchbook, I used this all the time. The colours were really nice, they weren't very pigmented, but they, you know, went on, and I really loved using them. But these ones, no matter how much colour I picked up, they just weren't layering the way I wanted to, and unfortunately that does happen. If you are looking for a cheap pan set of watercolours, the Artist's Loft own are fantastic, but if you're not after chalky watercolours, what I could probably suggest to use is get some tube watercolours, and then you can make your own palette with that, by very simply getting like a Tupperware box, and you can put the like put blobs down in there. That's how I made my first watercolor palette, because I couldn't afford like the little pans, you know, to make your own little palette. That's a really good way of being able to do watercolors, and they tend to be a little bit more pigmented than chalky watercolors, whereas like chalky watercolors, the way that they dry much lighter than what you originally planned. So I had a bit of a hard time with all of this. One, because I've been in a funk about my art at the moment anyway, and I've been in a funk in general, and two was because when I was working with them, nothing was going the way I wanted it to. I wanted to use the Ikea paper, I wanted to show everything like this is how it works, and maybe if I tried different paper, the material would behave slightly differently. I know if I used watercolor paper, this material would behave slightly differently, but in all honesty, for the price that you pay for the actual watercolor palette, which is £4, the best thing for me was the paintbrushes and the fact that it came with the little water containers. And I'm just thinking, like, I could have paid an extra £1 and then gone and got the Hobbycrafts own. By the way, none of these videos are sponsored. I just like trying out different art supplies. I think it's always fun to try out art supplies and see how you feel about it. I mean, do you expect quality art supplies when you go to Ikea? No. Do you expect to see something fun and imaginative and creative? Yes. If you are a parent and you are encouraging your child to get creative, I am wholly behind that. If you are an artist and you just want to create and see if something works for you, I am 100% behind that. And if you don't have a lot of money and you want to try out art supplies, go ahead, like try these amazing things, but please remember that you don't have to break the bank to create amazing art, because you can use the cheapest art supplies and create the most amazing pieces of work. For me personally, this didn't work. I don't think the art supplies are for me, and I feel like personally, yes, because I was in a funk, I was in my own headspace about it, but you know, I digress. I really enjoyed doing it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed having a day out with my friends and being able to get things to make my desk all look pretty. But overall, you know, Ikea art supplies, not really something I would approve to use in your day-to-day life, because quite frankly, I think there are cheaper art supplies out there that you could use beautifully and create an amazing piece of artwork and not break the bank, because I don't think you need to. If you ever have any recommendations for art supplies that you would like me to try out, if I get the budget, I will certainly try them out. I'm always looking to try out things to see if they are worth it, because in the end, you know, you don't know, something doesn't work until you try. I hope you guys have enjoyed this very interesting video and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure to like, comment down below, let me know what your favourite thing art supply is and what you would have bought from Ikea if you were there. And if you're new, maybe subscribe to this channel if you wish to see more content. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always folks, stay creative. Bye!